quickly, all of the stuff happening in Hollywood this week, where we normally do a bigger segment. I want to just sort of go through some of the buzziest, kind of like a question, topical question, and then we'll move on from this. So last night, obviously, we're in the midst of Oscar season, and PGAs were last night. The big buzz, I guess, within the industry is just that PGAs was going to be Producers Guild Awards, for those who don't know, but was going to be a real determiner of where Stars Born really has chances now at actually going all the way. It didn't really. This season has kind of been very mishmashed, if you're following. But what were your feelings? Because again,
right.
Producers Guild to me didn't ratify. Like, it still feels all over the place.
It does. It feels like different award shows are gravitating towards different movies. I mean, right. Green Book won.
Green Book, obviously, yes.
Yeah, which seems to be, I think, might be actually the front runner for
Agreed.
the Oscar. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be A Star Is Born, great movie, but I think Green Book has been kind of taking the cake on all of these. So that was what I got out of this, is that has a steady train going.
Yeah. Did both of you see Green Book?
Yes.
So thoughts?
You know what it is? In a field of movies that, they're great films, they are heavy topics, really emotionally draining.
Yes.
It is like the light in a field of, dark topics. So I understand why it's something that is hopeful, it's fun, it's enjoyable for audiences. I see why it's getting the awards this season.
Why do you think it was able to, though, overcome that little blip? Because there was the two kind of controversy. It was that the show the story wasn't authentic to what was actually happening, but then it was also the N-word being dropped by why is his name escaping me?
The writer?
No, the actor.
The actor.
Vigo?
Viggo Mortensen during a Q&A.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Usually that stuff can really kill an Oscar campaign.
Yes.
For some way. Do you think it's sure? Do you think it's because his co-star Mahershala Ali forgave him so quickly that it just kind of squashed it?
I think Mahershala definitely had dealings with it, but I also think in the context, because I had to read that report and see what it was that he was saying.
Yes.
I think he was he wasn't saying it maliciously. He was trying to make an example, prove a point, but it wasn't the right point. There are different ways that you could address that,
yes,
and I think that's what Mahershala said.
We could have still said N-word if we're being honest.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
I agree. It's like when Bill Maher thought he was going for comedic effect. It's never okay.
It's never okay.
Exactly.
Never okay for the N-word, never okay for the F-word, It's just never okay.
Exactly.
So I think that Bohemian Rhapsody now, it feels like it's that horse race between Rami and Bradley.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess that a lot of people are saying they want to see Bradley take the directing one if he has a shot. I just don't think I think Star Is Born. I loved it. We gushed about it. Remember, I did an 8-minute segment gushing about it. I cried in the theater, but I just don't think it's going all the way.
I thought it was good for his directorial debut. I think he knocked it out of the park, definitely. But when I saw it, because it came out earlier in the season, I was like, it's a great movie, but I was really looking forward to the other movies that were coming out. And normally, if it's something that I think is going to be a main Oscar contender, I'm like, no, this is it. It's going to win. But I was looking forward to seeing other movies to see how it would stack up. And that's not to say it's, not a good movie. It's a great movie. But I was still like, Yeah.
I think just based on his performance, and I can see the conflict in both Rami and him.
Yeah.
For me, this was the best performance I've ever seen for Bradley in terms of just
God,
transforming into that character. I was just thrown by how he really embodied that character. So I don't know.
Right. No, they all did great jobs. I think sometimes it's the momentum, and then you become very clear who's gonna win. I remember watching Beale Street, and I knew Regina King was gonna. That's how I felt. I was like, oh, she's gonna get an Oscar. Okay. Walking away from that film, so I think you kind of know.
There's so much, but also something with Regina King too. There's so much love for her in the industry on the TV side. Remember, even that year. Yes. Mary. But no, she remember that year she won for something in TV, and she was legit blown away in her seat. I love those wins because everything's so contrived, and then it's always oh my God, it's like the faking that you knew you won 7 before this. You kind of knew you were going to pick up the 8th, but that's what I think is no fun for me as a person who covered trades and had to live in this for your consideration world, it's more fun now to watch them not being in the news, reporting the news of it. But because like I don't know every little, like I have to now defer to like the Scott Feinbergs and the columns at the different trades, but it's fun. It's more fun that way. I don't almost want to know. But as you keep seeing all of the drumbeat, it's always SAG. You know this. SAG, PGA is kind of like your barometer.
Right.
Golden Globes is like, I always say this, it's like 90, eccentric people. It's the I love how everyone's like the Globe. It's like it's just a party, and it's like don't go by the Globe.
Let's go have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Get drunk.
Turn out time.
So true. Yeah. Okay, so do you have any Oscar favorites before we move on? Like anyone you're really pulling for? So you obviously just said Regina.
I walked away from that film, and we have debates about the film in our room all the time because a lot of people, some people loved it, and some people were like, I mean, it's okay. And I actually really enjoyed that film, and I love the moment that she was allowed to have in that film.
Yeah.
So
I think that you run the risk too when you win from like you won for Moonlight. There's always like those comparisons. You're like competing against the shadow of yourself in a way, more so than the films this year.
Exactly.
I liked it, but that's all I hear. I liked it, but I liked Moonlight better.
That's right. That's exactly what we hear.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we hear.
Okay, so the next topic, quickly, Bill Maher. I love Bill Maher, but like, what is matter? What's going on with Bill Maher?
Who knows?
So,
he has his moments.
He's a man.
What's going
on with him? He's a man.
We love men. We love men. Let's be clear. It's okay, guys. But yes, he's one of the few.
I don't know if he's like early senior moments. He needs more ginkgo biloba. But like some of the things, like he's a smart guy, and I watch him religiously. But I'm just like was just taken aback by this. So for viewers that maybe didn't catch Friday night's show, Bernie Sanders' campaign had been accused, his 2016 campaign, in the New York Times report that a lot of females from that campaign had reported incidents of sexual harassment during the campaign, on the campaign. Sexual harassment, so let me just twist. So then Bill Maher went on to say he didn't really understand why Bernie was, and I'm paraphrasing here, was being beat up, because it wasn't that bad of a bad of a...
What?
Please take this because
he was there. He can never associate anything, and unless you walked in a woman's shoes, her heels, her Louboutins, you can never.
That's what I mean.
It's
say what is so bad and what's not so bad.
It's the inability to empathize and put your place in these women's positions to undermine it by saying, "Oh, it's not that bad," and it's also just a mansplaining thing. And you know, a lot of the times, I'm sure he's well intentioned. I always find that when I see men and their knee-jerk reaction is to defend people who are sexual harassers or dismiss it, they tend to relate to the men in some way, and not to implicate, anybody anyway, but it's like you're relating more to the man and stepping in their shoes and trying to, undermine and demean it, but it's like, no, come on.
Yeah.
Do you at least think, though, we've gotten to a place where, like, we're sitting in a platform like this, and as females that work in the industry and for higher profiles, do you think, though, that at least you feel more comfortable being able to, like,
call
speak?
It out?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Especially in our room, especially at our job. And that's one of the things. I mean, our show in particular, Eileen Chaikin, she set a precedent to have, the employees who work there, it's usually half and half, like on set as well as in the writer's room. As far as male-female ratio. So we feel very comfortable and very empowered and very supported. And the room that we created is much like a family. So even when you call somebody out, it's with love.
It's with love.
But it's like jokes. And we make each other aware, of our perspectives and how we see things, or watch what you're saying, bro. But I mean, sometimes you just call it out. But I think that I'm glad the Me Too stuff is becoming more prevalent.
It's not going anywhere, by the way.
Hello, and it should not ever, because I think it's really important especially for women coming up in this business, to be cognizant of how powerful their voices are just by speaking up against things, about things that are, done against, towards
Alina, when you were watching that clip of him, were you struck, though, by thinking to yourself, like, is this his real thoughts accidentally sneak, like where he lies, like, you know, on the issues, or is it like a slip up? Like, I didn't mean to say, because to me it's like when people make gaffes like that, it's more a part of a larger, like
a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think I agree with what she was saying. I think, you know, he does slip up sometimes.
Yeah.
This, I don't know if it was a slip up, because I think there is some part of him that sides with the male. You know, in order to say that, there has to be even a little part of you that feels that way.
Yeah.
And like they said, you know, if you weren't there, you weren't a part of it, you can't diminish those women's voices.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what he was doing, and saying also that, you know, well, Bernie was off doing his thing, so he can't be responsible. Okay, if this had happened in Barack Obama's campaign, he would have been dragged. Okay.
And by the way, I call bullshit, because like, my goodness, as the leader of your campaign, it is your responsibility to set
from the head to the tail. You
set
the tone.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. In order for things like this to an end to be put to stuff like this, you need to be at the top and getting involved. You need to you should be aware. If you're at the top, you should be the main person that's making sure that everybody is okay.
Agreed. Well, that was like that to me doesn't help his case to go, well, if you don't know about your own house and what's going on, so you want to run everyone's house in the country, to me it's not helping your case to go, I was kind of busy, I didn't know.
It's like, no, own it.
Right.
Okay, so that's Bill Maher's kind of like second big thing. Like, he's got to be really careful, because at some point there's got to be a point where HBO is going to go, okay. And also, I mean, the difference when you see a millennial, like, to me, I'm a big Trevor Noah fan. Do you see, though, the difference in just naturally how a male his age presents himself, and just in how he speaks of the, it's like, I wouldn't even imagine in a million years that would even be possible.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's just, and I know we're like,
maybe
it's generational. It's like, but it isn't. It's like,
but does it have to be really? It's not that hard to be a dope, understanding, compassionate, good guy. It's just not that hard. I'm with Idris Elba. Like, are you worried about me too? No, I mean, if you are not sexually harassing and assaulting people, you shouldn't be worried about
Exactly.
It's not that difficult, guys. Get out of this Hollywood bubble.
Which brings me to my next topic now that got me in a big Facebook argument while I was even late, because I was like typing like in the car at the light. So Leslie Jones came out, and rightfully so. I'm so team Leslie on this one. Leslie Jones slammed that Jason Reitman is going to reboot yet again Ghostbusters franchise, but pick up the almost like probably taking a page out of the Halloween, picking up the origin story from the original 1984 one, and then ignoring like the female thing happened. So she came out on Twitter. Do you have
the tweet?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So she came out on Twitter, and she's pretty much said, so insulting, like, fuck us. We didn't count. It's something Trump would do. In a Trump voice, gonna redo Ghostbusters. Better with men. Will be huge. Those women ain't Ghostbusters. So annoying. Such a dick move, and I don't give a fuck. I'm saying something.
Yeah, good for her. All I could say is good for her, because here's the thing, and this is what the argument was lying in, and I want to. It's not even, because here's what most of the white men on the chain that I was on would say, that movie wasn't good, and it was like so subpar, and it wasn't a big blockbuster hit. And I was like, how many male-led movies got a sequel that weren't good, were lukewarm?
Exactly.
It's just, it's like females have to be on eggshells, and then they started invoking Ocean's 12, which was making me more pissed off.
Oh,
I was
my God.
So like, and look, whenever they remake, it's like it's awful, because it's like, to me, this is what it really stood for with Leslie. Not about the quality of Ghostbusters, but about yet again this little inkling of Hollywood's boys club. Let's return to business as usual. Let's go back to the male movie.
We gave them their chance.
That's what it is.
Female
we tried it didn't work.
What's your thoughts? Your writers, your producer. So it's like you come from it from a different perspective. What's your?
I would hope, being that she is outraged and has brought this to light, that they would at the least, as writers, producers, consider maybe trying to incorporate
them,
those women and don't act like they didn't exist. Because it to me, as writers, we to me, the fascinating thing about what we do is that we love a challenge. The challenge is when it's trying to incorporate new things. When you dig yourself into a hole or push yourself into a corner, how do we get out of it?
Yeah.
So
and let's be very clear. If people have the opinion that the movie is bad, okay, it's not bad because women are in it. Like, get over that. Like,
that's what it is.
Gosh. I mean, the original Ghostbusters cameoed in the film. Like, come on. Like, let's be real for a second. And they can involve those women, they can involve those characters, and if they want to focus on another subset of the story, but don't act like they just completely didn't exist. Like, it's just, this is just an off, sequel that we just don't talk about anymore. That's crazy.
It was being so downplayed in the debate now online because it was just like, well, his father started the friend, and it's like he just wants to pick it back up. Like, it's so innocent. Like, nobody in the entire room when they were talking about doing the project was like, ooh, we are in the midst of Me Too. We're neck like eyeball high and Me Too. You think this might be want to pump the brakes a little bit?
It seems extremely tone deaf.
Exactly.
How about that?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm Team Leslie. Keep just giving them hell, Leslie. Please.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then the last thing, and then we'll get to why you're actually here to just talk more in depth about the TV industry at large. There was updates, obviously, the horrifying R. Kelly documentary now. Sony has dropped him, but this is what I want to get your guys' read on. So it's Variety and like Billboard reporting that high-level sources are saying he's been dropped, but Sony's saying completely silent. What do you think that's... I want to ask you first, because your husband, as I said last week, is a music producer. Spill the tea, Alina.
This tea, I don't know. I don't know why Sony would keep quiet if it actually has happened, because people are calling for it. I think it's the right thing to do to drop him. So it wouldn't be like a bad PR thing for them to say, yeah, we have dropped him. So it's really curious to me why they're staying silent.
Do you think it's because they're going to wait if he's actually, like, convicted?
Yeah,
like they just want to keep it mum, and it's like, why could that be it?
It may be
because they don't want to face a lawsuit.
Okay.
It sounds like that.
What did you think about these radio stations that are now polling his music? It's like kind of similar to Bill Cosby, what's going on here. And by the way, did Empire ever collaborate in music with R. Kelly? I mean, to put you on the spot.
I mean, please. We can officially say no, we did not.
See, then you can wear that with a badge on.
And proudly so, because they were ass. And no.
Good.
Not at all.
Good. We love that.
We do.
We talked all about R. Kelly last week. I just wanted to bring that up, Nugget. And the other thing, my favorite subject, or apparently our viewers' favorite subject.
It went from Roseanne
to Roseanne was my 5-week thing, and now it's Julie Chen Moonves and Les Moonves. So Les Moonves, you haven't heard the last of him. So he was denied his $120 million severance. And now he's suing. It was reported this week that he is suing to fight for it. So I don't have much more to say except, I mean, his wife's working for the network still. He feels he's justified. I mean, he really needs that 120 million. But any thoughts here? What would Cookie Lion say about this? Cookie
Lion would probably say, I don't know if there's a judge in the world that would reward him for the behavior and how he treated women. My God.
Cookie would say, "Ho, sit down." That's
We'll leave it there, and now I want to get
to be in a room with her.
Oh my God. We need female executives like that. Cookie Lion needs to go run CBS.
Exactly.
She just made.
Shit.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm just pulling up something here. I'm sorry, pardon me, because I want to.
Cookie Lions.
Okay. So I want to start with now. You two lovely ladies